I saw this nice video where someone makes bad apple out of real plastic apples. Check it out. There's also some computer science involved. I couldn't believe he uses the traveling salesman problem. I've researched it for many years and never thought to apply it like that. Anyway, today we'll take the easy way and I'll teach you how to procedurally generate the apples using basic JavaScript and HTML Canvas. So start your coding editors and let's get those apples rolling. Get it? Because we'll generate apple. No. Gonna code, debug, and have fun. Coding with Radu. Coding with Radu. Gonna prototype and design. Coding with Radu. Coding with Radu. Let's code now. I have Visual Studio Code open in an empty folder, and let's create our HTML file index.html. And we begin with basic syntax, first the doc type, and then the HTML opening and closing tags, and the head section here. And let's say title is gonna be Bad Apple Apples. Okay, now body, and we are gonna have a canvas element added to the body. Let's save, and I'm going to open this in a browser. I'm using Google Chrome. Then you can see the title here, but the canvas is actually transparent, and to see it you're gonna need to use the developer tools like this. So let's make it not transparent. I'm going to give it a style here, maybe a background color, something exotic like Indian red. Save, and if you refresh, you're going to see the canvas there. Now I want it bigger, so I'm going to arrange this a little bit and give it a width of 1621 and a height of 1005. You can give any values you want there, but these just look good on my screen, so I'm fine with them. I'm not gonna worry about making this application responsive. You could, if you use JavaScript, and change these over there, depending on your window size. Now, speaking of JavaScript, I'm opening and closing the script tags here, and we can reference this canvas by its ID. You should also write this JavaScript code in some external file if you're working on a bigger project, but for this prototype, it's just fine. Now I'm gonna get the context like this, and it's gonna have all the methods that we need to do the processing that we have to do. Now, before working with the video directly, I'm gonna make a small animation of a circle moving across the screen, and then see how we can replace that with the video itself. So let's begin a path and draw a circle with the arc method at the center of the screen, so half the canvas width and half the canvas height, and a radius of, let's say, 100. Now to draw a full circle, you start at 0 degrees and go to 360 degrees, but this arc method works with radians, so 2 pi. And here we fill, so it's going to be a black circle on the Indian red screen. Save and refresh, and there it is. Now we'll be using this width and height a lot, and what I like to do is make them global here, and I just extract them from the canvas like so, and these are now going to be whatever we define up here in HTML. So we can write width and height, and the line is shorter, and we don't have to write my canvas dot everywhere. If you save and refresh, it's still going to work. To animate this, I'm going to go here and call the animate function, and we're going to need to implement this function. So it's going to contain this drawing of the circle part, and we have to move it somehow. So now the circle is drawn in the center screen. So I'm going to change this part to depend on the time. Now I'm going to multiply by the sine of this time. And this is in milliseconds and it's going to constantly increase, but the sign gives us values between 0 and 1. So multiplying the width of the screen with a value between 0 and 1, it's going to move it from the left side to the right side somewhere. Then to have it loop, we write request animation frame and pass here animate again. So what is going to happen? It's going to call animate again and again as fast as it can, many times per second. And the result is this. We are not clearing the screen. So I want to already prepare for the black and white background. So let's write the white background here first, using a fill rect and passing the whole size of the screen like this. And then let's set the fill style back to black so that the circle is drawn properly. And it moves like crazy. We need to slow it down a little bit. So I'm going to divide this by maybe 1000 here. And if I refresh, we can see it goes, oh, yeah. The sign gives you a value between -1 and +1. So minus width is off screen. If you want this to be a positive value, you could, for example, raise this to the second power. So any negative raised to the second power becomes a positive. Now, this code is bad. It doesn't even fit on screen. I won't be improving it because we won't need it once we add the video, but I do encourage you to try and rewrite it in a better way. It's good practice. And my next video will be related to this, and I'll show you how to improve it in that one. So you can compare and let me know if you find a better way to do it. And now we get this. Now this is definitely enough to start working with adding the grid of apples and keeping those apples on top of the circle. And the way we implement this, there are many ways really. Like especially because it's very easy to find out if an apple is inside the circle or not. But now I want to work with pixels because when we replace this later, we don't have circles or nice geometric shapes. We have that video. So pixels is what's going to tell us if we are on top of something black or not. And we get the data, the image data, like this. Using the getImageData method, starting at 0, 0, the top left corner, and going all the way to the width and height, so the bottom right corner. And this image data object contains several properties. I'm only interested in the data from it. And now I'm going to loop using a grid. So horizontally and vertically. And I'm going to have a step value, maybe 20 pixels. So for x at 0 going to the width plus equals step. And same for y going to the height. We need to figure out where inside of this data is the color information. This data is a long array of values and they come in groups of 4. The first is the red, and then the green, and then the blue, and then alpha, which controls the transparency. So we have to figure out which index is going to be at this x and y location on the screen. And we can get that using this formula. Depending on the y value, we have to move down several rows, and each time we have to complete the whole width and then add the remaining x on that last row. But all of these need to be multiplied by 4 because that's how they are grouped in. There are 4 values for each of these locations. And now we can check if the data of I is 0, because I expect the values to be only white and black there, then I can only check if the red is 0, because I know that the blue is 0 and green is 0. So this is a kind of a trick here. I'm actually checking if the red is 0, but it guarantees if the input video is only black and white that we are dealing with the black color. Then we can put there an apple. And I'm just gonna put there an emoji of an apple. I don't feel like drawing one now. So I fill text at X and Y, and let me paste here an apple emoji. You can get it in the video description. So now if you save and refresh, you're going to get this, but it's moving way too fast, and I'm just gonna slow this down by dividing by 10,000 here. Much better. Now the apple is there. If it doesn't work for you, then you might have to go up here and add UTF-8 support. So make sure you try that if it doesn't work otherwise. But I want the apples to be bigger, and maybe it's time to think about the grid as a whole and talk about a cell size. Let's say cell size, and I'm gonna have it up here as a global variable. Cell size, maybe 32 pixels. And now here we can set these properties of the font. So the font can be the cell size in pixels Arial. And now if we save and refresh, we can see it reflecting here. But it's not really overlapping the circle that well because of how the text starts to be written and how it's aligned. We really want it to be aligned to center both horizontally and vertically. So I'm going to set here text baseline to middle and text align to center. And this should do the trick. Yeah. And now it's time to start working with the video. I'm gonna add it here next to the index.html file. And I obviously can't share this for copyright reasons, but I think I will make some kind of similar black and white video for you to use. So check the description if it's there. It should be. I will make something. And yeah, we are loading the video and then setting here the width and height of the canvas to match that of the video. And then we begin this animation loop. Typically, you would like to have some kind of preloader here, display something meanwhile, but this is not a very big project. It's just a kind of prototype to see how it would work, and I'm not going to bother with that. So we load the video, we create a video element, we set it to this one here, and I mute it because I want you to be able to hear me talk, and also because playing the video will not start unless it's muted. Otherwise, you would have to interact first with the page, and I don't want to click stuff every time I refresh. I just want it to start automatically. And then animating starts here, but this width and height variables, I think they need to move here as well, because they change after the data is loaded from the video. So this should work. And now we don't need all of this stuff right here where we were drawing the circle. What we do want to do is draw the video on the canvas instead. So I'm going to do this starting at 0, 0 all the way to width and height, save, and if you refresh, it's not going to work because of course. So there is the problem that we try to modify these values, and it's a kind of permission issue because we are working with files locally on the computer. And we can go around this by setting up a local server. So I have this live server extension installed on VS Code. And with it, creating a local server means that we are loading this file from our own server, and that's okay. So pressing this now is going to start the application on a new tab, but the address here now points to the local host on that server that we created. And I don't need the other one, but you can see it actually works. So great. um, we don't need to see anymore the video, the real video there. We just want to see the apples. So I'm going to, after we get the data, the pixel data, I'm going to still draw a white rectangle on top of this. And if I refresh, it's okay. But notice when it starts, this grid is not perfect here. It's cut in half because we don't consider the cell size when drawing these. We start at 0, 0 in those loops. So we could solve it in many ways. I'm just going to add here for both of these half the cell size. And now it's better here on the top, but still I think it could go a little bit lower. This has to do with how fonts work, and I just eyeball it still a little bit more, maybe plus 10 here vertically. I think this is all right now. Okay. And now we can do even more cells. Let's try reducing the cell size to 16. So this is going to be much more accurate, a much more accurate representation of what we have there. There's this fidgeting that happens on the side of the drawing. And I think this has to do with grayish values, like the video is not pure black and white. And maybe changing here from checking if the value is indeed black to checking if it's not white can fix it. Maybe it's a little bit better, this fidgeting on the side, but maybe even reducing to 240. Keeping more pure black values. I think this looks okay. Let's try even a smaller size, maybe a cell size of 8. Oh, wow, so many apples. Okay, yeah. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching and see you guys.